Welcome to Chris Cook for YouTube. Today we're going to be doing oven slow roasted beef brisket. Now this takes a long time to cook, but it does not take a long time for the ingredients. So let's get started with it. Here I have, this is about 13 pounds, and you will not need that much of a beef brisket. And we can use this for maybe 3 to 4 meals. We can use it for tacos. We can use it for barbecued beef sandwiches. And we can use it for what we're going to use it for, which is dinner. I'm just going to slice it up and we're going to have it with our dinner. Now, you will get a smaller one instead of getting this large. I got the whole brisket. You won't need as much, not unless you plan to do a lot of meals with just the beef brisket. But let's get started with the ingredients that you're going to need. You're going to need granulated, or you can use regular powdered onion powder, garlic powder, paprika. This is my onion soup mix. It is online, or you can use a brand onion soup mix. It doesn't matter. This is beef bouillon, or you can use bouillon cubes if you don't have beef bouillon. Worcestershire sauce, salt, rosemary. Here are the vegetables you will need. You will need carrots, celery, onion, and potatoes. And we're going to put onion and, we're going to put all of these as the side dish for the beef brisket. It's going to roast in the same pot. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go away, get everything prepared. I'll be right back. Okay, now I'm back and I have my brisket laying out, and you can see just how big it actually is. These are some vegetables that I have cut up, and these vegetables I'm going to saute when I take out the brisket from being just seared, and then we will cook it. But what you need to do is you need to season it a little bit. Now, I'm not going to put all of the seasonings on, because when searing, you don't want your seasonings to burn in that oil. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put on the seasonings that I need at this point. And that would be the paprika and definitely the salt. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rub this in real good and get it ready to go to the pan to be seared. Now these are the flavors that I want to be locked in. Why do you sear? You sear because you want to lock that flavor in. Same way you do when you sear your steaks. You want to lock that flavor in and let it slow roast, and all of the flavors from the salt and the paprika be locked in the searing process. Now, that's one side. I'm going to flip this over because it's something that I want to show you while I sear. Now, this side has a streak of fat, which to me is very important, but some people do take their fat off. You can ask your butcher to remove your fat, or you can take it off when you get ready to eat it. Now, if you want to remove some of the fat, just go ahead and take, this is a tough piece of meat. It starts out tough. But if that's just too much fat for you, then you can go ahead and remove some. It's not too much for me, because what happens with this fat is this fat helps to moisturize this meat. So when the oils fall down the sides from the actual oils that's inside of the fat, that will help to moisturize that meat. Now, like I said, we're going to slow roast this. So it's going to be cooking a good 5 to 6 hours, again at 325 degrees. You don't want to pierce your meat if you can at all help it. You don't want to stick it, because when you stick it, you release that moisture that's on the inside. And you want that to continue to help to cook your brisket. And there's several ways you can do it. We're just going to oven slow roast it today. So you want to massage that paprika and that salt into this brisket as much as you can. Now, if you don't want to use paprika, you don't have to. I think paprika is a good spice for this particular, or a good seasoning for this particular meat. But if you want to do it with something else, you want to do it with, I wouldn't do it with something that would burn. But if you want to do it with something else, just your salt and your pepper, you can go ahead. I don't use a lot of pepper because my meats have to be kid friendly. So rarely will you see me use um, ground red pepper. Sometimes I won't even use regular. Okay, now I'm at the stove and I'm going to go ahead and put my brisket in the pan. I'm going to do, and the oil is hot. I did the fat side first. Now, this is going to need to just sear for about 5 minutes on this side and 5 minutes on the other side. So instead of keeping you here with me the whole 5 minutes, I'm just going to sear this. When I get ready to flip it, I'll bring it back and show you what it looks like when I take it out. Then I'm going to do the vegetables as well. Okay, now the reason why I cooked it on the fat side down first is because I wanted that fat to help produce some more oil so that I would have enough to saute my vegetables with. Now once the oil starts to get warm or hot, then it starts to release, or once the fat starts to get hot, it starts to release some of the oil that's in it, and that will help me to get this help me to get this cooked. Now mine is big, yours won't be as big, and mine is a little bit of a struggle because it's so big. So I'm going to let that brown. It did brown about 5 minutes on that side. I'm going to let it do it for 5 minutes on this side. And I may just right over on this side where you see it has not actually gotten any type of heat on it. Then I'm going to go ahead and braise that. And then I'll bring you back and show you the next step. Okay, now I'm back and I think that it has seared on all sides. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this out of the pan. Put it back on my cutting board, and I'm going to saute up. I'm not going to remove. See how much oil I got? I need that because now I'm going to saute up the bed of vegetables that it's going to sit on. Now this is going to take me another about, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes. So I'm going to saute this up, and when I bring you back, I'll be ready to put the meat back on top of the vegetables and then put it in the oven. Okay, now I'm back and my vegetables have sauteed up enough. Now they're not sauteed up enough for you to eat them. Only the onions are. But the reason why I went ahead and gave them a little bit of just sauteing up is because I want all of the flavors that was left over from the meat to be coating the vegetables, and I want it to be absorbed into my roast. So I'm going to make like a little bed, and what can happen is this can finish the cooking process when the meat is in the oven. So there, I've made like a little bed, and I'm going to take just a little bit of the seasonings that I did not put on the meat. I'm going to go ahead and put that on top of my vegetables, which will be on the bottom of my meat, and I'm going to put my roast back over in there. Now at this point, I'm going to go ahead and add my Worcestershire sauce all over my roast. Then I'm going to add the rest of my seasonings. And it smells delicious. Now I'm going to add to this some bouillon. the beef bouillon. And I'm going to add about 4 cups of water to this. So there. I added just a little bit more. Now you can use the bouillon cubes if you have it. Oh, I want to show you one other thing. I want to show you how tough this meat is. Look. You cannot get your fork no place in this meat. And I don't want to pierce my meat. But it's not going to penetrate it anyway because it's tough. So that's why you have to cook this meat for such a long period of time on a slow roast. Now I'm going to go ahead and add this water. And this is about 4 cups. You can use beef broth if you like. I'm using water because I use the beef bouillon. Got just a little bit going on top. Alrighty. Now I'm going to cover this with aluminum foil, stick it in my oven. Next time I will see you will be about 5.5 to 6 hours, at which time it should be tender enough for me to get my fork all the way through it, or it should be on its way. So I'll
this has been
back
cooking for a while.
I'm going to take it out. And now it's still not done. Needs maybe about another 30 minutes. But what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to go ahead and put in the potatoes so that all of it can cook together. And you see the juices that it formed. And I'm going to put in the carrots. Feels like I got about at least another hour. But that's good because it's cooking slow. So what will happen is that my potatoes and carrots that I cut up, they'll all cook together. Okay, now we're back and the roast is ready. So we're going to go ahead and take this roast out of the oven. And I'm just going to show you what it looks like. And then I'll meet you at the table so that I can carve it up. There it is. It came out real good. It's all the way done. Oh, one thing I do need to show you is that the way that you tell that it's done is when you can stick this fork in and it'll go all the way through with no resistance. See? With no resistance, then it's done. Okay? So I'll meet you at the table. Now I want to show you something about this roast. I did cut it in half because it was far too long for me to get it on just one platter. I am going to have to use 2. But the way that you carve this is because you see the grains on the meat running this way, you want to cut it against the grain. So you don't want to cut it that way. You want to cut it this way. Okay? And that's the way that you're going to get the most tender cuts of meat. Now, up underneath this meat, there is the fat. I have a layer of fat. Now, what you can do, you can either have your guests or whoever it is that you're going to feed it to, your family, you can take off that layer of fat, which I'll take off just a little bit of it. Okay. That is really fat, even though you see some meat pieces on there, that is primarily fat. So what you want to do now is just continue to cut your meat. So that you can get a full slice. Now, this meat is real good. You can also you can make your own gravy to go with it. And of course, you would make it out of the pan drippings that you saw. But see how it's cutting? And I'm using my Kuma knife. Just want to let you know. And see, you can see that piece of fat right there. You can either take it off, or you can allow your guests to do the trimming. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue to cut this up. When I get it all on the platter, then I'm going to bring you back, put some potatoes and some carrots around it, and I'll show you exactly what it looks like. Okay, now this is just some of the liquids that you saw that was in the pan with the roast. So what I did was I added some cornstarch, 2 tablespoons of cornstarch to some water. You can do this one of 2 ways. You can allow this to boil down, or you could just make the gravy yourself, and I just chose to make it. So I'm going to add that cornstarch, and as you can see, it's thickening up. And I'm not going to really make that much of it because I don't need that much. Now that is just some gravy to go over your roast. You really don't have to do this. This will be just the drippings or the juices from the roast that you had left over from the roast. Take it, and once you skim off that fat, because it's a level of grease on top, once you get that off, then just take it and you can either let it boil down and make your gravy, or you can do what I did, which is take some cornstarch mix with it and make the gravy. And then you would taste it to make certain that your seasonings is proper. You may need to add a little bit of salt or something. And that's it. And see how thick that is? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to meet you back at the table and we'll put this over the roast. Okay, now I'm back, and there is the finished product of the roast. Now over in this pan, as I showed you earlier when I made the gravy, see it? You can make it a little bit thicker if you want, but you don't have to. So what I'm going to do with some of this gravy is I'm going to take it and I'm going to put it down the roast. Now I didn't have, there you go. I didn't have a big enough platter in order to put the whole roast on. So I'm just putting it on this. So there you have it. We took a real tough piece of meat and we turned it into a meat that you can definitely enjoy because it is moist enough, it's tender enough, and it is ooh-wee delicious. Okay, that's what Chris is having for you today, beef brisket. And as you can see, the potatoes and the carrots is surrounding a beautiful piece of meat. I think if you try this, your family will truly enjoy it. And all of the meat that you don't eat tonight, turn it into a beef pizza, turn it into tacos, turn it into whatever you want to, because that piece of meat was big enough to do maybe 3 to 4 meals in it. And all you don't eat, please don't forget to freeze it and use it at a later date. And as always, thank you for watching. Chris Cook for you too. Bye.